Tape Deck Media.
Step right up. Listen to the Awful Service Podcast. It's future radio on your computer phone. You've heard of Hannah and Barbera, Laurel and Hardy, Sears and Roebuck, now Doyle and Cocazello. Are you a bean counter at your boring job? Listen to the Awful Service Podcast. We've got segments, we've got guests, we've got Karens.
The Awful Service Podcast, available where all podcasts are streamed. Brought to you by Tape Deck Media.
Ruddle me this, ruddle me that. We got the riddles that'll make you chat. Oh yeah, baseline stuff been through this tight. Get your funk on, we're rocking tonight. One more time.
Good morning, Ruddle Maniacs. Welcome back to another episode of Ruddle Me This, another little Friday bonus episode for you. I figured, screw it. I've got so many episodes in the backlog. On certain weeks, I'm going to be dropping 2 episodes. That's right, 2 whole episodes for you to enjoy. As always, I am your faithful host, Hostimus Prime, Taylor Ruddle. You can tell I'm really starting to run out of ideas for these nicknames. It took me probably 15 minutes of scrolling to think of that one there. So, Hostimus Prime, Taylor Ruddle. Got a great episode for you today. I am interviewing probably the sweetest, kindest man in comedy that I've ever met. His name is Kieran Carr. I met him for the first time in November last year, so just under a year ago. He was down in Christchurch performing his solo show. I think it was called I'm Trying My Best. He did a spot for us on the Laugh Seller show, and just in general, he is a really kind, affable gentleman. I believe he won the Green Rumour of the Year in the New Zealand Comedy Guild Awards. And if that doesn't speak to his kindness, then I don't know what will. This was a nice change of pace for me because he actually asked me to be on the podcast, which is amazing. Normally, I feel like I'm pestering people when I ask them to do the pod, so delightful to have a guest actually contact me to book it in advance. So we recorded this about a month ago, sometime in the start of October, when Kieran was in Edinburgh. He was performing a couple of nights of his solo show. I think it was the same one, I'm Trying My Best. So at this point, no plugs that I give are going to do Kieran any good. I don't actually think he even has a comedian page, so I guess watch this space. But yeah, we went through a Tiny Joys episode. Kieran brought some Tiny Joys, and we did the podcast from his Edinburgh flat. The audio quality on Kieran's side is not amazing, admittedly, so I do apologise for that. I didn't realise it at the time, but what are you going to do? It's still a great interview. I think once you listen to it a little bit, you kind of get used to it. And Kieran's just a lovely guy, so that should encourage you to listen to the whole thing. Alrighty, well that is enough from me. Let's get straight onto it. Please, Ruddle Maniacs, welcome to the show, Kieran Carr, everybody. Hello, Kieran. Nice to talk to you again. It's been, when was the last time we saw each other? You were down in Christchurch maybe last year?
Yeah, exactly. Kia ora. Yeah, we would have seen each other in, it would have been November. When I was in Christchurch. Yeah.
And so have you been back up in Auckland since then? Like, what's your, let's give the listener a bit of a backstory. So you're currently in Edinburgh. Is that where you're based at the moment?
No, I'm here for Fringe, Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is for those of you in the podcast who don't know, it's the biggest. It's a big, massive arts festival, biggest arts festival in the world. Comedy from all over the world. Lots of New Zealanders, sadly, lots of Australians, lots of just everyone, anyone who's anyone's here really. And like theatre. There's like people performing in coffee shops, in bars. It's great.
That's cool. Yeah. I think to further illustrate the point as to how massive it is compared to like the average Fringe festival, it is pretty much pedal to the metal for the whole month of August. Like people in New Zealand that might be familiar with Fringe festivals going for 2 weeks, and the performers will put on maybe 4 shows. Whereas the typical Fringe season is about 20 shows, I think. How many are you doing while you're there?
I'm doing a New Zealand run. I'm only doing two, but
Ah,
yeah, most people do because I have to work to be here because Fringe is also notoriously. So I'm paying I'm paying a lot of money to stay on. I guess what we in the business call a pull-out bed in a living room. Um,
Le Sofa.
no, the sofa as it's
Le
called on the
Sofa bed.
continent.
Yeah.
Oui.
Yeah.
But yeah, people do like a month of shows. It's like you have. I think a lot of people do like 25 shows with one
Uh-huh.
day off or 2 days off.
I find that idea of the fringe accommodation economy so fascinating because if I well, just even thinking about the effect that the fringe has on the city of Edinburgh once a year
Mm.
is fascinating because for this 1 month the whole town is kind of consumed by it. And
Mm.
I've heard that the accommodation is almost the hardest thing to get. Like if you get a venue, which can be difficult, um, on top of that, you've then got to find somewhere to stay. And I sort of think, do you know when people used to go on those camping trips in New Zealand where they would be leaving and have to book in their stay for the next year? Otherwise, they wouldn't get it
Yeah,
again. I think it's a bit like that, right?
yeah, exactly. Like we think we sorted this out relatively late, and we did it in January or February.
Hmm.
Um, oh, did that notification come through on your end? I just got
No.
anyway. No, okay. I didn't know how headphones work on this thing,
Yeah, no,
but
we're all good.
yeah, like I don't want to, offend any any landlords out there, but it is
we
insane.
we we already lambasted them in an episode of What Do We Reckon? So yes, you're among friends here.
Okay, good. I know. Don't want any hate mail, Kieran. This
Yeah.
is very inclusive to us owners of 17 houses.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
you
yeah.
went over for work. Is this just sort of a happy, like while you're working there, you could also happen to be able to do the fringe, or did you go over specifically for the fringe?
Oh yeah, no, so I moved it back to so I was in Auckland till May, and then I moved back to London um
Ah,
to in hindsight not get paid much to do comedy there.
uh,
And
yeah.
and then I came back. So I wanted to come back and settle before the fringe.
Oh, that's great. So you've been living in London for about a year now?
Oh no, a couple months.
Oh, right. Okay. Um,
May this year.
yeah. And how's that kind of experience been? Are you from London?
I'm from near London. I'm
Mm.
from a small town, which has no real claim to anything, really. It's just a
Yeah.
little town outside of London.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and then London's cool. London's a lot, especially after living in Auckland, where people have so much time and nothing's really that big a deal. And then into London,
Oh,
where everything is about 100 miles an hour.
is it
It's
really?
it's a very different experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a very good friend. One of my childhood friends is living there at the moment, and the thing he said he misses about New Zealand is the more relaxed pace of life. So
Mm.
I think you might be onto it there. How's comedy been going on there? Have you been getting up at pub gigs and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, yeah. So I started comedy in London. So it's just like coming back and doing the gigs I was doing before, doing some new stuff, meeting. Just it's kind of been quite easy just to settle back into
Yeah.
what I was doing before. Everyone's
So
really
actually, you
nice.
coming to New Zealand, that was more of the trip for you then. How long were you
Mm.
over here for?
I left London in January last year and came back.
Oh,
So like a year and a half, nearly 18 months.
I actually didn't realize you were in that country for that short, but that's great.
Mm.
So then have you got like, well, I think by the time this drops, the Fringe Festival will be done, but let's talk about your show. Like have you done the two shows yet, or have you still got them to come?
No, it's still got to come. They are very work in progress. So
Yeah.
I have written about 4 jokes and I'm gonna spread them over an hour.
Was this the show
And
called Trying My Best?
yeah, yeah, it's
Have
the
you
one I came to Christchurch to do.
Yes, I remember seeing the poster for it. What's the kind of does it have a sort of narrative to it, or is there any kind of yeah, narrative story that you've got going?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's definitely narrative. It's it's all good fringe shows. It's about death.
Oh yeah.
It's not, but like it's about I started talking about my mum. So my mum died when I was young, and it's
Oh,
about uh, me talking about it for the first time.
really?
'Cause- yeah, because a lot of
Wow.
times I didn't talk about it because people get awkward and feel sorry for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough thing to open a comedy
When-
show with, eh?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing to feel sorry for someone about their own life.
Yeah.
It's kind of
It is very much taking the on behalf of, getting offended on behalf of to that next
yeah.
level, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, wow. So,
As someone with a parent, how dare you?
yeah. So then, how far away are your two shows from when we record now? How long have you got to kind of get it into
Ooh, I've got 9 days till
9 days?
yeah, which is it's some days.
Yeah. But I think the other thing for the listener, if they're not informed about the Edinburgh Fringe, is you might actually be able to answer this question for me quite a lot better because, to my understanding of the UK scene, um, people used to, if I'm remembering this correctly, people used to work on their tour show. They'd kind of started off at Edinburgh and then they would take that on the road. But I've been talking to a few comics, apparently that's sort of shifting now, where people kind of end the run at the tour show at Edinburgh. Maybe you can shed some light. What's the sort of common life cycle of an hour in England at the moment?
Oh, that's a very good question, and I don't really know. I think
Yeah.
a lot of in London there's a lot of work in progresses, so it's a really good place to see people figuring out a show.
I love that. I love
Um,
seeing a work in progress.
it's my favorite thing, and not on the list though. So it's my 11th favorite thing.
Have you done a list of 10?
I've done a list of 10. Is that too
Oh,
many?
crikey. We found that 10 doesn't, we don't have a lot of time to go through each
Is it
item.
5? I
Yeah,
can
5.
cross stuff
Maybe.
out.
Yeah.
There's stuff here that was just padding, really.
Ruin that
I
list.
I'm crossing them out as we go.
Nice. Kill your.
It is my
Oh, I was going to
sixth.
quote Neil Gaiman, but he's not a very. I shouldn't talk about him at the moment. Um, let's let's move swiftly on from that. Should we get on to the joys then? Let's unless you've got
Sure.
anything else you want to add about the Fringe, like what's your experience been like or anything?
Just tiring.
Yeah.
Just lots of. It's very cool if you can afford to have no money and you like comedy. It's a very good place to be.
Hmm. I have a friend called Stephen Case who you may run into if you've seen any posters for a company called RGB Monster around. That Stephen and Ollie are the two that run it. And Stephen tells me so Fringe is August, must be about June. I'll message him and say, "How you going, dude?" And he'll be like, "Yep, just starting up my training for the Fringe." He genuinely has to work on his cardio because of how much walking he does throughout the Fringe. So he has to like build up his cardio a bit, and then after the Fringe, he can go back to sort of normal. But then, yeah, he's got to really work to get himself in shape for the Fringe.
It's like he's doing it for charity.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, no, I definitely need to. They've been sort of trying to get me over every year since the pandemic kind of started. But flights, as you probably well know, are not cheap going from here to England. So we shall see if I can afford it next year.
Yeah.
Let's get onto your list. What was your first joy there, man?
First joy is actually something I'm doing right now. It is a coffee from a Moka pot. I don't know if you can see it. Gonna put there.
Oh yeah, it's that fancy kind of what is it made out of? Tin, steel? I'm not quite sure.
Definitely like some sort of reflective metal.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I don't know the metals, Taylor. I won't lie to you. I'm not.
What is this metallurgy class?
I didn't think I was going to be getting grilled actually on my periodic table.
Oh, you think you're a fan of coffee mugs? What's that one made out of then?
Yeah, I'm more of like a what's inside kind of guy.
That's a nice message.
Yeah.
It's not the outside that matters. It's the delicious coffee on the inside.
It's the delicious coffee on the inside and the brand, because I am superficial.
You do have a favorite brand for is in the brand of coffee or the brand of the coffee device?
The coffee device.
Oh, what is the brand you like?
I like a Bialetti.
Oh,
it's got a guy with a big nose like pointing up as the logo, which I'm a big
nice. Hell yeah.
fan.
What is the method? Is that the one that you put it on the stove top and it kind of heats from the bottom? And what is it about that one that makes it sort of preferable to the other methods of creating coffee to you?
Well, yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I say, yeah, it uses a percolation to make the coffee, which is it boils the hot water in the bottom. So it has like three compartments. You have the water. I'm gonna describe this for the listener. So you have some sort of metal, like metal kettle sort of looking thing.
Nice.
And there's water in the bottom compartment, and then you put coffee in like a little basket that sits in top, and then you screw a bigger compartment on top that has a handle, and it boils from the bottom. The water boils, takes the like I guess boils through the coffee.
Yeah, it comes up from below.
Yeah, I'd say it's some sort of magic to
that sounds about right actually.
Yeah, turn into coffee in the top, and then you pour the coffee out. Like that's when you know it's like any other kettle. You just pour it out. The smell.
Yeah. Is that like because you'll probably hate this, but I'm a smooth-brained instant coffee drinker, so I don't know the difference between coffee types. Like I understand there's drip coffee, which is those devices that you put in like it's almost like you're loading the magazine of a gun into the coffee maker, and it like pours over that upside down U-shaped thing, and then the other type you can do is filter coffee, isn't it? That's with the filter that sits, and you kind of pour over that. And then is plunger coffee similar to what your method? It's not really, is it? Because plunger you kind of soak everything and then push all the gritty stuff back down. Yeah.
I mean, Taylor, for a smooth brain guy, you're pretty knowledgeable about coffee. That you kind of summed up the whole coffee work.
No coffee making method escapes me.
Even in Christchurch, we make coffee. I'll have you know.
Yeah, imagine that, knowing all these methods and then still deliberately choosing to drink instant coffee.
I respect it. You've looked at all the options and you went, I'll have the shittest one.
Yeah,
I respect that as a lifestyle.
Wonderful.
I used to roast coffee as well. I'm not just a wanker. I roasted coffee. It was my job, which is why I like
Hang on,
coffee.
did you say you're not a wanker and then you said you roasted coffee? Have you got like one thing I learned kind of recently is how different unroasted coffee beans look, to the point where the average pub quiz audience won't recognize what they are. They look
the green ones.
Yeah, they were I don't know what stage. It was a pub quiz that I was hosting. I don't know at what stage of the coffee process they were, because they looked squishy, and I guess yeah, I suppose they dry out in that process. You might be able to rectify this rumor, but I heard that all coffee comes from like one strain of the same plant. And if something ever happens to that plant, like it gets a virus and dies off, that'll be the end of coffee.
That sounds mad. No, yeah. I can't say I would know. I don't think that sounds mad to me. That would be like, I guess that's the same with all living things. Like we all come from one strain of human.
Yeah.
And if we get one virus and die off, then which we nearly did.
Good point.
There'll be no humans.
Maybe he was just fear mongering me. It was trying to sell me coffee at the time, so I don't know.
He was a coffee monger. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually spoke about this just before we went on the well, not on the air, but you know what I mean. You said you're just kind of learning that you're not as much of a morning person as you thought you had been. Is this like, if you were left to your own devices, what kind of time would you wake up naturally, do you think?
Oh, well, this is the good thing about being at, I don't want to keep talking about the Fringe, but like you go to bed late and because you're kind of free. Like today, I have nothing really I have to go to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like as close to being retired as I can get. And I would say I used to like to think I would get up at like 5 or 6, like a real adult.
AM. Wow.
Yeah, I used to think I'd like that, but I don't. I hate it. I would love to get up at 11. Actually, I think my
11's a
dream would
nice
be
time.
if I could wake up at 11, but it still feels like it's 6 in the morning.
That'd be
Like
that'd be pretty
in terms
sweet, wouldn't it?
in terms of the lack of humidity. I think that's the only bad thing
Oh,
about
does it get
sleeping.
quite humid over there?
Yeah, just the times, eh? Like
Interesting.
same when I was in Auckland. Like if I sleep in, wake up, I'd be like, oh, this is a smelly
Oh
room.
yeah, that is the worst, isn't it? When you wake up and you've got like cotton mouth,
Yeah.
and I have terrible sleep habits, so I always wake up like I'll wake up some random. It's kind of like like a bit like what you're saying. I'd love to be a 7 in the morning wake up person, and that's like
Mm.
I have that ambition, but obviously there's some kind of something gets lost along the way because I'll kind of stir and wake up at that point, and then I'll fall back asleep again, and then my natural time is about maybe 9:30, 10 at the moment. It's not too bad. But what sucks is because I'm only half asleep when I initially wake up, my head always my head's in a weird position on the pillow. So I always wake up with a fucked up neck and, you know, been I've been breathing just through my mouth. So it's this horrible cotton mouth. So yeah, I kind of have to set an alarm and yeah, like you say, be responsible, be a proper human. Um, yeah,
Well,
otherwise it's just awful.
yeah. I don't think anyone who wakes up early is actually happy.
No,
Like you got to think what's. I mean, I'm not one to judge. I'm each their own in that. I've woken up early for flights, so I get it.
yeah,
But
that's a different type of
yeah.
wake up though. Somehow you can will yourself awake if you've got something
Mm.
exciting, like yeah, Christmas morning or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Get me down Christmas morning. 4 a.m. I'm still
Yeah,
waking up my dad at 4
yeah.
a.m.
Not awake before 11 most days, but Christmas morning, oh man, I'm a bundle of energy.
Give
The
me those socks, is what I'm shouting.
what's that, sorry?
That's just it. Just give me. It was a silly joke.
Oh,
Just give me
socks. Yeah,
those socks.
yeah, exactly. Let me at him. I love a nighttime flight. We don't.
Mm,
I feel like our airlines now don't give us crazy hours that we can fly anymore. But I remember being like a little kid, and you have that exciting like go to the airport at 4 in the morning trip, and it must be international stuff that lands at that kind of
mm,
time. It mustn't
mm.
it? Yeah. Um, but yes, no, lot of good memories with that. Let's move along to your second tiny joy there.
Sure. This is gonna sound weird considering what we just talked about, but being up early.
um, it is nice. Like typically my only experience being if I'm awake very early, it's because I haven't slept. Um, but what is it about sort of being up early that kind of speaks to you in that tiny joy kind of way?
It's more like it's when you're up before people. So this happens
Mm,
like maybe once every 5 years where like I'll have a good night and I'll sleep at like 9 and I wake up at like 6 or 7 and no one else is really awake and I'm outside and it's like fresh but dry but warm
yeah,
but like crisp. It's crisp in the air.
yeah.
And then it tends to be if I'm getting up to go somewhere, like to. There's a couple of times in Auckland I've watched sunrise. Is that true?
Mm.
No, I watched sunset. That was a lie. That was a lie. That was a lie for
You wo-
me.
you woke up early to watch a sunset.
I woke up so early to watch the sunset. It
Yeah.
was, but it's just because of the time difference. I was watching the
14
British
hours
sunset.
to go. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
You're currently it's about what is it, 10 in the morning for you at the moment? 9 in the morning?
it is 10:13
10:13.
a.m.
Yes, it's 9:13 the night in the future here in New Zealand. So
Oh,
coordinating these with people in the States and stuff is always a bit of an interesting balancing act. Um,
mm,
but not too bad, I think, between Edinburgh and there. I was going to say as well with the waking up early thing, I think that sort of taps into this greater human feel like feeling like you're the only person on the planet is quite a fun, or I don't know if fun's the right word, but
mm.
it's an experience. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, it's you get like if you got like music on in your ears as well, and you're like, I mean, I think all we're trying to do in the world is just be one up on everyone else. And be like, by the way, guys, I was
That's
up at 7
incredible.
today.
That
I
is
was up at
incredible. That's like I've never lived this suburban life, but I've heard that you can get a bit like that with neighbors. Is like, your neighbor gets a new something or other, so you've got to like, one of George Carlin actually has a fantastic routine. Have you seen his routine about this? What are they called? Not the 7 deadly sins, the 10 commandments in the Bible.
Nah, I haven't.
So one of the commandments is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's. I think ox is the word it uses, but people have kind of appropriated that to mean don't covet your neighbor's stuff. And George Carlin's like, bullshit. Coveting's great. Coveting keeps the economy moving. He talks about how you've got to your neighbor gets a new car, you gotta outshine him, and it just keeps it keeps the economy moving.
It's true. That's otherwise what. Why would I get a Bialetti Moka pot? Like what? It's why would I've got a Mac for no other reason than my friends had a Mac and they said it was good.
Yeah. I think that is a hilarious thought to think of, how much of my life is things I do because of spite.
Yeah.
And people sleep on spite, but spite is a useful tool if you can harness it. Do you know what I mean?
God, spite is arguably how Britain conquered the world. It's through spite. Spite and spices.
That's what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
wow.
Spite is a great motivator.
It is.
Yeah.
Shame is another one I found that's interesting. Speaking of airports, doesn't that sound like a French show? Taylor Ruddle, Spite and Shame.
Yeah, I'd see it.
Yeah.
3 p.m. in the Monkey
Me
Barrel.
too. I can't wait to find out what it's about. I was gonna test this on you actually. So my next not Edinburgh, my next Fringe show, I'm tossing up the ideas that I'm probably on the spectrum of like autism, and I was trying to think of a good show title. Do you think it's funny to have a show title that's Taylor Ruddle can't afford an autism test?
Just very factual.
Because they're genuinely like $3,000 to get one done.
I see.
Yeah.
And then that's why you're doing the show.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm doing the show. It's to get it out there.
Can't afford an autism test.
I did like cheaper than an autism test.
Any sponsors looking for autism sponsorship?
I would probably have a quote on my poster that's like, no, we don't want anything to do with this show, and then dash, Autism New Zealand or whatever.
I think that's good.
Yeah. So that Ruddle Me This, listeners, a little spoiler for next year's Fringe show. I'm talking too much about myself. What was your next joy there, man?
Next joy. I'm just trying to cross things out as I go. I'm trying to half it. I do want to do this one. Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah. Meeting friends for dinner that you've not seen in ages.
Oh, yeah, that's a tremendous. That is a tremendous feeling. Have you experienced this yourself kind of recently? I guess if going back, you probably had some catching up to do.
Yeah, loads of catching up. I was surprised at how the same. It's just the same. You just see people. You're like, oh, we. It's the same.
Yeah, you just pick back up.
Right. I could have waited longer before coming back, actually. That's
They didn't even realize you left. Like, oh, what? You went to New Zealand? Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. How long you been there? Like 2 months? No. Cool.
My cat was like that when I got back from Japan. He didn't even look up when I walked into the room that he was in. I don't even think he noticed I was gone.
I don't know. Cats, I think they play hard to get. I think
that's a good point.
It's all internal with the cats. They're like dads in the 50s.
He's got to play it cool.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, I can't show feeling. But
yeah, that's fair. I think you're onto it there. Do you have a favorite kind of restaurant to go out with friends to?
Yeah, I like old school restaurants where they still like have weird curtains and like still have like china plates on the wall, where it's like been a family business for about 50 years and they haven't changed the decor since the 1974.
Yeah. Somebody I was listening to, I feel like this might have been done as a stand-up bit, but I always thought that the rustic aesthetic is kind of just restaurants getting away with not having to decorate anymore.
Yeah.
It's just exposed brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that's them not wanting up. No. That's them winding up in a different way.
Yeah. The so your favorite would be a like a what would be traditional English kind of pub food? Is it
We have a lot of
carvery?
yeah, like a roast. A roast
Yeah.
would be a big only on a Sunday in a pub. You also, but then I don't know because I've grown up. When I was about 18, 19, a lot of pubs became gastro pubs where they all
Yeah.
did a pasta, a pizza, a burger, and it was all just the same. Like I don't know why everyone suddenly became a
I wonder
pizza
why.
place.
Yeah, when did because we had that in New Zealand as well. I definitely remember seeing gastropubs start popping up out of nowhere, and you're
Mm.
sort of like, it's a new type of like. What's funny about it, I think, as well, is because gastro is quite an uncomfortable uh, intestinal like condition you can get. I don't know exactly what it is, whether it's anything to do with like indigestion or whatever, but that always felt odd to me that they'd slap that on something that serves on the front of something that serves food.
Yeah. It'd be like, because isn't gastro like, it's to do with farts in it? Like, isn't that what gastro is?
Gastrointestinal, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I
The
think
fart
if I,
parts.
yeah,
That's silly.
I think it's your gastro is like just your whole kind of digestive system. So it's probably like a food. Do you know I learned something fascinating today actually as well? Do you remember how like my last name is Ruddle, which I believe comes from Red Hall, which was obviously a place that people have lived in, but you know, people have like Cooper or Smith or something as the last name. We're weirdly sort of doing that now because you know you'll have someone saved in your phone as like Pete Landlord or something along those lines.
Yeah.
We're kind of
Oh my God, yeah.
keeping that tradition going in our phones.
We are doing that.
Yeah, how
That's
cool is that?
that's true. Oh my God. So when we sit there and go, oh, was your dad a baker? No, that's not right. That's just a child line. What's yeah, no,
A
that's
chat up line, did you say?
sorry. I I think I might have ADHD. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that, but
Yeah,
that's a really cool
I
point.
like
I
it.
actually have you spoken about that on stage?
No, it was just something I saw on. It was like a meme, I think I saw. So it's not a thought that I had necessarily, but it's
Mm,
something I do. Is I definitely put like how the relevant link to how I know someone. Well, this
that's
has
really
just
fun.
flown by. We've got 8 minutes left. Let's get on to those
Oh
other two
God.
joys. What was your next joy, mate?
Okay, I'm gonna pick random ones. So this is a place called, so this is the fourth one, eh? Zahínos, which is where my mum comes from in Spain.
Oh,
So I am, despite everything about me, Spanish, not British.
really?
And yeah, we go there every year. Well, I haven't been for 3 years, but I used to go there every year.
Yeah.
Um,
So some travel plans might have gotten disrupted about 4 years ago,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. It's a long walk as well,
Is
so I
that where
couldn't.
the origin of your surname comes from? Carr? Is that a Spanish name?
No, that's Irish. So my dad's Irish. Well,
Oh,
dad's family's Irish from North, like a farm in
Carr.
Ireland.
Yeah, that sounds Irish.
Car.
So what about this place? Is there anything you like to do, or is it just kind of the fact that it's tied to your heritage that you like about it?
Oh, well, it's like one of them. You get these in New Zealand as well because it's such a big Spain's such a big like land mass
Yeah,
that it's one of them villages which people just didn't go to for years. So it's like a tiny place in like a desert because it's so hot.
yeah,
So we go there and just it's like I got loads of cousins.
yeah.
Like there's like so many of us that we just go there and just sort of sit around doing nothing. But
Right.
then for Spaniards, doing nothing is like eating food and playing guitar and
Yeah,
singing. And
yeah,
I'm a very awkward British person still, so I find that deeply uncomfortable. But I love it.
yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. You've got some interesting sort of heritage to draw on there with your kind of. I imagine as you continue on with your stand up, you'll find bits and pieces to take from there. So then, what was your last joy? Let's spend a little bit of time on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I have four here to choose from. I'm gonna say organization.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
gosh,
okay. Yep,
yeah.
I'm down. I'm sold. What
Um,
kind of what
so
kind of stuff?
what I've written is lists such as like to do, grocery, but not a hit list, obviously. Um, and stuff like just like going stationery shopping and having notebooks and ticking things off a to-do list, or like planning my work in a planner. Because if I don't do that, I just don't. If I don't have it written down to do, I don't do anything.
I found it interesting. I heard an interesting piece relating to that, because I'm not good with. People would be surprised to learn that I'm not super organized just up in my head. I don't have a good memory, but using tools like calendars and stuff is like, that's how I remember things. And it was a YouTuber that was, his wife, I think, was a little bit annoyed that he had to write her birthday in his calendar every year. And it was a kind of like, why can't you just remember this thing? And his response was like, well, this is how I remember. Like, your options are, I write it in my calendar or I'm going to forget. Like, you can choose which one you want.
Yeah.
And that opened my brain up a little bit. And I thought, yeah, that's even though it's annoying that I can't just remember things, it's like, this is how you remember things with the to-do list. What is your system for to-do? Do you have multiple states of like, doing, done, finished, or are you just, I guess if you're just crossing off items in front of you there, are you just a done or not done person?
I'm just a done. I tried when I first started stand-up to have a big like in progress joke to write about this sort of thing. That's all gone. I can't do that's too much. I can't. I really struggle with also overdoing things. So I have just this. I'm going to show you. I have this. Flip it over. So it's just like a.
Yep.
For the listener, this is what we call a notepad.
Oh.
With the spirals at the top, which is actually not my best for note. I only use these for to-do lists.
Yeah.
That's a boring statement. But
that's exactly the kind of thing my listeners will want to know.
Oh, really?
Like we get into the weeds about that kind of stuff in this show.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna talk about it a bit more then. It's about A5, probably a bit like half of an A5 size. Would you say? This is A5, and it's got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 12 spirals at the top, and it does I like the
that's a satisfying over the top. Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just literally bullet point and list down what I need to do in no particular order, and just scribble it out once it's done, and that's it.
Nice. Brilliant. Well, we've got about 3 minutes left, so let's get all the plugs in. I think by the time this goes out, you will have been long done with the Fringe Festival. But what are your social media pages that people can follow you on?
I am on Instagram, and it's Kieran, my name, Kieran, _Carr_, because that's hard to say on a podcast.
we will definitely chuck them into the show notes below. But yeah, go and follow Kieran. I think just quickly as well, Kieran is an interesting name because there are many different spellings that you can have. I grew up with a friend who was Ciaran, which I think probably a very Celtic way to spell it.
Yes. Did he have the accent? A lot of them have the accent.
I believe he did, but I don't know if I ever saw him. Well, I don't know if I ever saw anyone respect the accent over it, to be honest.
That sounds like how people treat Irish history. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, very, very on brand, isn't it?
Yes. My name, my brother and sister chose my name because my parents were fed up of picking by then. And it was...
They had enough after 2.
Yeah, they're like, you guys have got this. You're 6.
Yeah.
You've got the responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's like, it means, it's from when the Armada crash landed in Ireland. So it's like Spanish-Irish name, which is why they gave it to me.
Wow, cool. That is cool. You're really lucky you didn't end up with a name like Bunny Rabbit or something with a child naming you, eh?
Yeah, or like Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, I am Weasel.
We're not alike. He's much more
tremendous.
confident.
Well, thanks so much for giving me up some of your time to do the podcast, man. I will I'll let you know when it's live, and I'll tag in everything. But good luck with the run, and I look forward to hearing about it.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Taylor, and good luck with your endeavors.
Likewise, man. Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind the scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, Ruddle her out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
Hey Ruddlers, I joined a group of podcasters that we are calling the Trailer Alliance, a group of podcasters that share each other's trailers at the end of the episodes and generally support each other. So at the end of each episode for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing a trailer of one of the members of the Trailer Alliance. And here's one of them now. I hope you like it.
Are you struggling with a lack of access to captivating entertainment and media? Are you faced with constant judgment and ridicule from friends and family for your inability to respond appropriately to sensitive situations? If this sounds like you might be suffering from being emotionally dead inside. But it's not too late to make a change. One Nothing Podcast is a newly available treatment for being dead inside. Taken just once every 2 weeks, One Nothing could make a world of difference. By combining carefully measured dark humor to the amazing original formula of grisly fatalities, One Nothing Podcast has successfully entertained thousands of people suffering from death inside. And with access across all podcast platforms, treatment has never been more readily available. But don't trust my word. Here's some real-world testimonials from a few of our listeners currently undergoing treatment.
From consistent doses of One Nothing Podcast, my posture has greatly improved due to being kept on the edge of my seat.
The One Nothing Podcast comes on, everybody be like, shut the f*** up. I be quiet, but when the episode's over, I be talking again.
Oh my gosh, buddy. I used to be on so many medications for blood pressure, and then I listened to One Nothing Podcast's episode on Kitty Genovese, moved into an apartment on my own, and haven't needed it since. That one really got my blood pumping.
You know, listening to One Nothing Podcast, I'm not constipated anymore. I'm just full of shit.
So what's stopping you from great entertainment?
One Nothing Podcast is not intended for all audiences. Listeners under 18 years of age should obtain permission from your parent or guardian before downloading. Tell your therapist if you're predisposed to whining, complaining, reading podcasts poorly, being overall combative, or being easily offended, as One Nothing Podcast might not be right for you.
So stop letting great content pass you by. Talk to your therapist today to see if One Nothing Podcast is right for you.